Let's get right into it.
Number 7. Picture this. You've trekked for days across the rocky hills of ancient Greece, desperate for answers to life's biggest questions. Instead of Google, you get a middle-aged woman sitting in a temple muttering riddles while high on volcanic fumes. Welcome to the Oracle of Delphi, the ancient world's most confusing customer support line. So here's the trick. People back then actually trusted these cryptic prophecies. Kings, generals, rich merchants, they all showed up asking if they should go to war or invest in more goats. And the oracle's advice? Usually something vague like, if you cross the river, a great empire will fall. Which empire? Yours or theirs? The oracle never clarified. Basically, it was the ancient version of a horoscope, but with more laurel wreaths and sulfur fumes. Science still scratches its head at how this worked. Some argued the priestesses were genuinely hallucinating because the temple sat on a geological fault line spewing gases. Imagine basing your entire military strategy on a woman hotboxing natural gas fumes. Others think the oracles were just incredibly good at manipulating people, masters of psychology before psychology even existed. They knew how to say just enough to sound wise, but never enough to be pinned down. And yet, it worked. Empires rose and fell because some lady said, "The goat will triumph." It's a miracle humanity survived the ancient equivalent of a magic 8-ball.
Number 6. Okay, so picture yourself wandering through the desert, dying of thirst, and suddenly rocks start singing at you. No, you're not hallucinating, though honestly you probably are a little dehydrated. These were real, giant slabs of stone in ancient Egypt, Greece, and even Persia that produced weird humming or whistling sounds when the wind hit them just right. The most famous, the Colossi of Memnon in Egypt, 2 massive statues that sang at dawn. Ancient travelers wrote about it like it was Coachella, but with fewer drunk influencers. People thought the statues were talking to the gods or whispering secrets of the afterlife. Some even claimed the sound cured illnesses. You had to wonder, did people really get healed? Or did they just convince themselves because, placebo plus giant stone ASMR? Here's the fun twist. Modern engineers still debate how these sounds carried so far. Was it cracks in the stone vibrating like a natural speaker system? Or did the scorching desert heat actually cause expansion that made the rocks moan? Either way, it was a concert courtesy of Mother Nature, and the ancients treated it like a hotline to the divine. Basically, these statues were the world's first podcast. But instead of Joe Rogan, you got a 60-foot hunk of limestone telling you absolutely nothing useful.
Number 5. Imagine you're on a rickety wooden ship in the middle of the North Atlantic. The year is 1000 AD, your socks are permanently soggy, and Google Maps is about 9 centuries away. Yet somehow, Vikings made it all the way to North America without getting hopelessly lost. How? With something called the sunstone. The sunstone was basically a crystal, most likely Icelandic spar, that could polarize light. Even on cloudy days, it let sailors locate the sun's hidden position, which sounds like witchcraft until you realize modern scientists tested it, and yep, it actually works. Like, you could hand one of these rocks to a frat boy on spring break, and he'd successfully stumble his way from Reykjavik to Canada. Here's the mystery. We're still not sure how widespread its use was, or how Vikings figured this out without microscopes or physics textbooks. Did some dude just stare at a rock long enough to realize it could find the sun? Was there an ancient Viking Bill Nye tinkering with crystals while everyone else was raiding monasteries? Nobody knows. What we do know is that if you give humanity a shiny rock, they'll either worship it, wear it as jewelry, or, in this case, invent a medieval GPS system. Honestly, that's impressive multitasking.
Number 4.
Okay, here's one for the What Even Is History files. In 1938, archaeologists dug up a weird clay jar near Baghdad. Inside,
a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and traces of acidic residue, which means it might have been an ancient battery. Yeah, 2,000 years before Elon Musk, people in Mesopotamia may have been charging, well, something. The thing is, nobody knows what. Did they use it to electroplate jewelry, deliver tiny electric shocks as medical treatment? Or was it just some guy's failed pottery experiment that accidentally looked like a Duracell? We don't have instructions, no insert rod B into slot A, nothing, just the hardware. Scientists have rebuilt these things and, yep, they produce a weak electric current. Not enough to run your TV, but definitely enough to zap your finger like a bad handshake. Which makes you wonder, how far did ancient science go that we've completely forgotten about? Or maybe, hear me out, they just invented the first prank device. Imagine some Mesopotamian teenager walking around, "Hey bro, touch this jar," and zapping people at parties. If that's the case, humanity's been wasting electricity on dumb jokes since literally forever.
Number 3. If you've ever stubbed your toe on modern concrete, you know that stuff is supposed to last. Except it doesn't. Modern concrete starts falling apart after a few decades. Meanwhile, the Romans? They built harbors, aqueducts, and amphitheaters that are still standing 2,000 years later. What sorcery is this? Turns out, Roman concrete had a secret ingredient: volcanic ash. This ash created a chemical reaction with seawater that made the concrete actually get stronger over time. Imagine if your phone battery gained charge every time you used it. That's basically what Roman concrete does. The wild part? We rediscovered this formula only recently, which means for centuries we had the blueprints for indestructible concrete just sitting in history and then forgot. Instead, we built highways that crack faster than your grandma's knees in winter. So yeah, the Romans were casually dropping cheat codes into civil engineering while we're out here patching potholes with tar like medieval peasants. If there's one ancient trick we should absolutely steal back, it's this one.
Number 2.
You've probably heard of the Terracotta Army, those thousands of clay soldiers buried with China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. But here's the part most people don't know. The main tomb where the emperor himself rests has never been opened, and the descriptions of it sound straight out of a fantasy novel. Ancient texts claim the tomb contains entire palaces, rivers of flowing mercury to mimic the landscape of China, and a starry ceiling painted with constellations. Basically, the man built a miniature universe underground because just being buried wasn't dramatic enough. Why not open it up then? Well, 2 reasons. 1, archaeologists worry that disturbing it would destroy priceless artifacts. And 2, the soil around the tomb really does contain insanely high levels of mercury, suggesting the river story might be true. So yeah, it could literally be toxic. Until technology catches up, the tomb stays sealed, making it one of the greatest unopened mystery boxes in history. Somewhere out there, Qin Shi Huang is lying in his Mercury River Palace, laughing at us for not having the guts to peek inside.
Number 1.
Meet the Shigir Idol, the oldest known wooden sculpture in the world. Found in Russia, it's over 12,000 years old, which makes it twice as old as the Egyptian pyramids. This thing is huge, once standing over 17 feet tall, and covered in mysterious carvings of faces, zigzags, and symbols. The creepy part? Nobody knows what the carvings mean. Were they a map? A warning? Instructions? A prehistoric art project gone way too far? Some experts think it was a kind of ancient storytelling device, maybe even a spiritual guidepost. But with no written language from the time, it's basically history's longest-running guess what I drew game. So yeah, the Shigir Idol proves one thing. Humans have been making confusing, artsy nonsense since the dawn of time. And we're still just as confused about it now. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.